Good day, everybody. We're back, and today we're going to do an alternator on a 2015 Kia Rio. This is a pretty simple job, just requires some basic hand tools, and anybody can do it. So having said that, let's get started. Go ahead and pop the hood. Very good. There it is. As Sarah just pointed out, that is the offending animal right there. That's the alternator, and that's what we're going to be changing today. And don't let it intimidate you guys. This is a very simple job. Anyone can do it, and you save yourself a few bucks doing the repairs yourself. Going to go ahead and start by disconnecting the battery. It's just a 10 mil. You can use a wrench, you can use a ratchet. Now we're going to start removing the alternator, and we're going to start with this bolt right down here at the bottom of the alternator. That's a 14 millimeter. And just use a deep socket, works really good. There's not a lot of room in here, so you don't got a room for like a lot of extensions. That deep socket works pretty good. Break that sucker loose. Just loosen it for now. Just like that. Now that the bottom one's loose, the alternator can swivel or pivot. We're going to take a 12 and break this guy loose. Now we're going to remove this cover for this bolt right here. And that should just pop open like that. We're going to give that a little squirt because you get a little green and corrody. You usually get that when the charging system starts acting up. I'm going to remove this wire. Get in there with a pry tool. Just kind of pop that sucker off there. Just like that. And we're going to unplug this connection at the alternator, and there's a little tab here on the top. You want to kind of squeeze that, wiggle it back and forth a bit. There you go. There it is there. And you just depress that. You can see the center moving up there. And that'll unlock, and then you'll get it off and you won't break it. Now we're going to go ahead and remove this connection. This one's bolted on, and this is also a 12 millimeter. You can just start it with the ratchet. And spin it off with your fingers. And there you go. And we'll put that in our parts bucket. Just so we don't lose. Go ahead and remove the wire. Way down at the bottom here, we've got another one. And you can kind of get this out of there without doing this, but it's just so simple to just unplug this connection. And this guy here, same thing, there's a tab. So you just squeeze it like that. Can you guys see that? Just slide it, and then the whole harness is just out of your way. Just makes it easier. We're going to go ahead and remove this bolt, and now this guy is also loose. Force the alternator all the way towards the dashboard of the car. Put them in your parts bucket. Now we're going to finish removing the bottom bolt. The one we broke loose first. Just once you break it loose, you usually turn it by hand. There's not a lot of clearance in there, so it's a kind of a long bolt too. We'll see it in a second here. And there we go. And you can see that sucker just clears that frame rail and comes out of there. And there she is. Put them in your parts bucket. Now shove the alternator all the way forward as much as you can. Kind of wiggle it back and forth a little bit. Once you've got the tension off it, the belt should easily come off. Well, semi-easily.
As easily as you'd want a belt to come off.
And if it's not coming easy, get in there, wiggle it a bit more. Just like that. And there we go. Now that we've got the belt off, you're going to want to remove this bracket just because it's a very tight space in here and there's no way for the alternator to physically come out of there. So you do have to remove this bracket, at least on this model of car, not on all of them. But take a 12 millimeter, and there's 2 of them right here. And if it comes out of there without removing this bracket, please say something in the comments, because
Yes, let us know how.
yeah, because I found this is just the easiest route for these ones. It's only 2 bolts. This is another long one. There we go. Just put that in your parts bucket. Or on your parts bucket. Will that fit in there? Oh, look at there.
Yay!
You can always count on your parts bucket. Now that you've got the bracket out of the way and everything, just take it and rock it forward and backwards. Oh, you could sure tell it's never been off of there. And just lift at the same time. Oh, just like that. And there you go. And you can see what I mean. Like, it just barely fits in there. So yeah, save yourself some trouble and just take the bracket off.
And once you got the alternator off the car, you flip it over. Right here, you've got this
Right
identification tag.
That is correct. This will tell you, you can see it's 13.5 volts, 90 amp. Now there's 3 sizes for this model of car. This is the 90 amp. There's also a 110 amp and a 130 amp alternator. There's also 2 other models for the automatic start-stop. When you pull up to a light and the engine shuts off, and then when you touch the gas, it automatically starts. This vehicle is not equipped with that, but if you do have that feature, you have to get the correct alternator, and this is how you identify it, is by this tag right here.
Now you can rebuild these.
Yes,
but
yeah, we were going to as well, and we will cover that in another episode, but the cost and availability of the rebuild kit for this just wasn't in the works for this particular job. We searched it. It would take longer to get here than a new alternator. We got one at a good deal from Jenny, so thank you, Jenny, and everybody at CTR once again on Wall Street. They're great at finding us parts we need. And yeah, it would have taken like a month to get here to get a rebuild kit, and then by the time I put the labor in it and everything, you're not really saving too much. You got to reuse the old housing and everything. It comes with new bearing, rectifier, a few pieces. You reuse most of the internals, but for this job, we're just going to be replacing it. Now, just in case you have to save this pulley for your car, in case you're worried about getting the right size, or you know, this one isn't going to come with a V belt. It's going to be a modern serpentine belt. But if you need to get this off, you'll notice there's an Allen key in there. And they've got a special socket with a slot in it and all that crap. But I'm going to show you guys a neat trick. We're going to put a little deep creep on there. And in order to get this pulley off, well, where did my bungee cord go? Oh, there it is. I want you to take a rubber bungee cord, not one of those fabric ones. The rubber one works really good. Or you can also use like a rubber heater hose, works pretty good, or an old serpentine belt. And I want you to just wrap it around there like that and pinch it. Take your impact gun and just hit that sucker and hold on to it. And there you go. And it just comes loose like nothing. And then you can just take the pulley off like that, just to make sure you've got the right one. You take the spacer too. We have to give this back for core, because like I said, these are like $600 alternators, and we get like $100 back for taking the core in. So just to save money. But when the new one comes, if it's the pulley's different, we've got the old one. All right, moving right along. Thank you again to Jenny and everybody down at CTR. We're also going to put a new belt on this puppy. And this is our alternator here, and she is a perfect match. Comes everything ready to go. So having said that, let's put her in.
now we're going to remove the belt. You just squeeze it here and kind of walk it off. And there you go.
Just like that. Now we're going to go ahead and take the 14 mil long bolt, and we're just going to put it in the bottom of the alternator and just get it started. We're not going to tighten it up. We're just going to sit it in there. Now you can see right here, there's a slot there, and this is why we put the bolt in first. That's where it rests right there, and when you tighten it up, it kind of clamps on there. The reason we put the bolt in first is it's just easier to line up with this groove. If you're off center or too deep or too high, it'll be a real pain in the ass getting the bolt through there. If you put it in and just drop it in the slot, it's a lot easier. Then we can just rotate it into place and get the belt on. So let's go ahead and do that. Just like that. Yeah, it's tight, but it fits. Perfect. Okay, and there it goes. You can see it swivels right on that pivot. Now we can drive it all the way forward like that, and we can get the belt on. On some cars, you have a tensioner on an arm. On these cars, the tensioner is stationary. To tension the belt, it actually is the alternator. So there we go. Perfect.
Now we're going to install the belt.
Take it out of the package here. What you want to do is, if you have a grooved pulley, it's this side of the belt. You can see the grooves. And if you have a smooth pulley, like this guy here, or the tensioner back here, and you can see it here, then the back of the belt goes to it. Now, most cars have a routing diagram. This one doesn't, but it's fairly simple. So we're just going to start on the bottom pulleys there and work our way up to the top. So just kind of fish it in there. So it's a little bit of a tight spot. There you go. We're around the top. There we go. Under this guy, like that.
That smooth pulley underneath there.
Yes, that's right. And the tensioner. And there we go. Just like that. You've got this belt properly seated on the lower pulleys and routed right. Give it a little turn there. I'm going to push the alternator all the way in and just slip the belt on like that. Make sure you've got the alternator all the way forward. Just give it a little turn if you have to. Give it the final seat. There it goes. Just like that.
Now we're going to install the bracket.
The longer bolt goes to the top. You can see it goes through this thicker piece of metal in the cylinder head, and the shorter one goes to the bottom. And there's a little line-up peg right there that goes in the hole. So you can't get it wrong. You see?
Now we're going to tighten them up using the 12mm.
And just till they bottom out, and just a quarter turn like that. This is an aluminum head, so you don't want to strip them. Remember, cross thread
Is not better than no thread.
You beat me to it. Good job. Just like that. That's all she needs. Now we're going to install the adjuster. You just lay that in the slot there. You'll have to move the alternator a little bit to get the hole to line up. Now we're going to start tensioning the alternator, and as you tighten this bolt up, you can see it's pulling the alternator back. And that's going to tension this belt so it doesn't slip. When you check for tension, look for a fairly long spot on it, like right here. You shouldn't have more than a 1/2 inch play in either direction. That's about that much. So when you pull it, it should be tight. So a 1/2 inch or less of play, even right here, you can just push on it. That's too loose. So we got to keep going, keep tensioning it up. And once you've got the belt properly tensioned like that, you can see me moving it a little bit. That's about all the play it should have. Now we're going to lock down the adjuster and lock down the 14 mil on the bottom. So let's do that. This will lock the adjuster in place. Tighten this bolt. And that's it. Just bottom it out in like a quarter of a turn. That's all she needs. Using our 14 millimeter, we'll tighten up the bottom bolt. There we go. It's a tight spot. Watch your knuckles. There we go. Just like that. Good and snug.
Now we're going to start reconnecting the harness.
Right on. And also, we're going to point out that this is a brand new belt. We just put it on. We're going to run the motor a little bit, and then we're going to adjust it again if it needs it. And we're going to do that just by loosening these bolts and tightening it up a little bit as it seats itself and gets a little bit of movement. Okay, so we just reverse what we did. Start with that guy. And that guy. Plug that grommet back in there. And the air conditioner way at the bottom. Now we're going to reconnect the power cable. I'm going to take this nut off here and the lock washer. Install the cable just like that. Lock washer and the nut, which we got brand new with the alternator.
Tighten up the power cable using a 13 millimeter.
Let that sucker snug. Don't break it. There we go. Now we're going to coat this terminal with petroleum jelly just to keep it from corroding once we've got the nut on there and all tightened up.
Make sure you get the bottom good too.
Yes. And close the cover. Perfect.
Now reconnect the battery terminals, starting with the positive.
Now we're going to go ahead and coat these terminals with petroleum jelly as well. Just a light coat.
Get it everywhere.
We did this car before quite a while ago, and as you can see, the terminals are just in perfect condition. Everything's conducting good. It'll keep them from corroding. And you can't even really see it's on there. It still looks pretty. Okay, cross your fingers. What do you figure, Sarah? Good running vehicle or catastrophic failure?
I'm hoping good and running.
That's the spirit. Oh, we got power.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Now that we've run it a little bit and it's kind of seated, we're just going to check it again. Yep, the tension's still good. Yeah, it's nice and stiff. It's not too tight. It's not too loose. It's not squealing or anything, so that's good. And that's about it. Well, that's it for that. Well, that's enough for tonight, everybody. Thank you for watching. I hope this is helpful to somebody out there. Have a good night.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. And
Don't-
turn on notifications.
And turn on notifications. Yes, that's right. Oh, look at my hands. Show them your pretty nails. Look, yours are so much cleaner
Well,
than
they're all
mine.
chipped now.
Oh, yeah. Not bad for a mechanic chick. Have a good night, everybody. Take good care of each other.